Have you ever wondered why you attract toxic women? Discovering your authentic self is the ultimate cheat code to attracting high-quality women and success in life. And while it is the most important, it is also the most difficult thing you will do in your lifetime. And I'm not going to give you some surface level advice of go to Thailand, become a remote closer, hook up with Tiffany the float machines, or just start meditating. I'm going to give you game-changing life advice that 99% of most online gurus don't even fucking know exists, because they haven't been in the trenches like me, like I have. Trust me, man, once you implement what I share with you today, you will know what I mean. You will feel the difference. And in the process, you'll attract a high-quality woman like me, and then pick the one that you like most, that is most suitable for your kind of lifestyle. I picked Sandra. She quit her six-figure finance job for me. She followed me from London to Cape Town, then to Montenegro, then to Canary Islands, and now we live in Marbella. No questions asked, bro. So trust me when I say this video will change your life, because as Carl Jung once said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And in the process, you'll attract the ride or die woman. So how did I get to where I am now? Let me tell you a quick story. A few years ago, I was sitting in a coffee shop in East London and I asked myself, what the fuck am I doing? Is that truly the life that I want to live, man? It was rainy, obviously, and I felt a deep, painful void inside of me. I had a six-figure job, I was a managing director at a startup, and I was banging cute girls. But something was missing. I didn't feel the fire inside of me anymore, and I was surrounded by fucking Kevins and Jessicas who were pretending to be happy, living a life they didn't want to live, stuck behind a screen, doing what they hated doing. And I did not want to be one of those Kevins anymore. I absolutely hated it, man. It was that day that I decided to start my own business, quit my job, donated 99% of my stuff after, and left London in a tank top and one suitcase. And I took Sandra with me. And I did all that because I wanted to finally live on my own terms in my authentic way. First though, let's clarify, what does being your authentic self actually fucking mean, and why is it so attractive, bro? This is going to be a bit more complex, but let me explain and stay with me. When you aren't your authentic self, you play a role. The role of the guy who is fitting in, doing everything you can to be accepted and impress women. Most men generally adopt one specific persona. I call him the Kevin. Kevin is the predominant persona men adopt to survive in the world. And that's because millions of men, most likely you included, grew up in a controlled environment. You learn that certain behaviors, traits, and emotions are shameful and unacceptable. Like your mom most likely told you to be more quiet, don't be like the other boys, and don't be so aggressive. And that's why you've become so much more sensitive and passive. You're afraid to be assertive. Or your dad never told you were good enough. He never showed any emotions. And now, decades later, you still suffer from it. You still show up as Kevin. And because of that, none of the women you meet stick around or are even worth your time. By the way, bro, this will all make sense in a bit. Let me still connect the dots for you because this is super complex, but it is going to change your life. Okay, back to the explanation. You already know that you shouldn't give a fuck about what others think of you. So how come you still try to fit in? How come you still act like a Kevin, pleasing and seeking approval from women? How come you pedestalize them so much even though you know you shouldn't? You aren't stupid. It's because your logical part of the brain isn't the problem, man. It is the emotional center that is causing all this. Let me help you understand. You have an emotional center in your brain, and that center in your body is so afraid of the pain of rejection, it develops the Kevin persona to protect itself from the pain. It helps you to create an image of you, an illusion of you, because your emotional center associates not fitting in with lower chances of survival. Because your emotional brain, it still lives in 10,000 BC when you had to hunt down Mani the mammoth. Imagine you'd be Kevin in 10,000 BC. Do you think it would be easier to unalive Mani if you're in a group of guys or if you're by yourself? Obviously in a group. So acceptance by the group mattered because it increased your chance of survival. That's why you walk through life as an illusion of who you truly are, because your emotional brain is still living in 10,000 BC. And to fit into the group, you sacrifice your authentic self and develop a Kevin persona, which is your inauthentic self. Bro, I hope all this makes sense because that is very complicated. I'm trying to keep it super simple, but again, it is going to fucking change your life, and it's going to help you with attracting high quality women, trust me. Now, since we obviously aren't chasing money anymore and you have all resources you need for your survival at your disposal, it is safe for you to ditch the fucking Kevin persona. And I'll teach you how in just a second. But before, I want to share the secret of why your Kevin persona also holds you back from attracting a woman of your dreams. Let's go back to 10,000 BC. Back in the days, women were most attracted to the leader of the group. Can you become the leader of the group by being like everyone else? No, you cannot. The leader of the group stood out. He didn't put on personas and he got all the women. The followers, the Kevins, got what was left over. So if you want to attract women, especially high quality ones, you gotta become a leader. And that means integrating your authentic self. Otherwise, you do what every woman hates. You will act needy. When you sacrifice your authentic self, you're placing more importance on how someone else views you than yourself. And that's needy. Simple. This is why you love bomb her when she does not text you back, when you let her moods affect you, when you pedestalize her, when you sacrifice your principles for her to keep the peace, to impress her. And those actions, this behavior is needy, and it turns women absolutely off because it means one thing: you are unreliable. Because if you cannot stand up for yourself, how are you going to stand up for her, bro? Now, do you see why it is so important for you to become non-needy? And let me show you how you become non-needy. You integrate your authentic self, because that means you're placing more importance on how you view yourself rather than someone else's opinion of you. And you show that, or you do that, by having a spine, by owning who you fucking are. That's purely authentic, bro. Now, here's the thing though. A lot of men mistake authenticity for a free pass to stay exactly where they are, thinking it means take me as I am without any fucking effort to improve. They assume that being authentic means they're owed unconditional love, which is absolutely narcissistic, bro. Here's the fucking truth, bro. Authenticity doesn't mean refusing to grow. It means being real about your flaws while actively working to become the best version of yourself. Expecting someone to love you for who you are while you refuse to put in the fucking work is not authenticity, bro. That's fucking entitlement. Now that we got that sorted, let's talk about your authentic self. I'm glad we broke the ice here. Now, as I said, Kevin is a persona, a mask, a role you play. Your authentic self, on the other side, I call it Hercules. So how do you get from Kevin to Hercules? You have to face your dark side, also known as the shadow. Carl Jung, leading psychologist, introduced the concept of the shadow, which represents the parts of yourself that you hide, reject, or repress. Your fears, insecurities, desires that you do not want to acknowledge. But this shadow, this dark side, it includes your fears, desires, and weaknesses, all stored deeply in the subconscious mind. While you often ignore it, the shadow influences your actions, decisions, and even the persona you develop. The shadow is important because it shapes who you are without you realizing it. If you don't confront the shadow, it shows up in your actions through behaviors you're not proud of, whether it's being passive, being aggressive, or avoidant. That's when you watch porn, when you overwork, when you punish yourself in the gym or don't go in the first place, right? When you emotionally eat, or you become this high achiever that buries himself in work, gets promotion after promotion, but still struggles to attract high quality women, because every time you meet a woman, you act like a Kevin, needy. Now, Kevin is actually just an expression of your shadow, your dark side. And this dark side is the sum of your 4 archetypes inside of them. Your escapism is just a mask covering up suppressed archetypes that are crying for help. So to move from Kevin to Hercules, you have to express your archetypes. I call these archetypes Noah, Martin, Don Juan, and Patrick. And your authentic self, which is your Hercules, is the sum of the integrated version of your 4 archetypes. Because authenticity equals Hercules, which equals Patrick plus Don Juan plus Noah plus Martin. When you have integrated all 4, you are being your true self. And by the way, this might be super random for you, but have you ever wondered why you attract toxic women? Because you attract what you are. You attract toxic narcissistic women because you're operating in your shadow form, and you attract women who act in their female shadow archetype form. So do you see why it matters so much to integrate your 4 main archetypes? Now that you understand why it is so important to integrate them, you might be wondering, who the fuck are those 4 archetypes and how do you integrate them?
Bro, why do women always leave me? Like, I don't get it. I don't have any problem getting women, but I can't get them to stick around.
Man, I was the same until I booked a coffee chat with Gene. He helped me and countless of my friends to actually become really good with women, either in attracting or keeping them around, bro. You should book a coffee chat with him as well, man. You want to know how to book it? Go into the description, click the link there, find a slot that works for you, bro. Archetype number 1. Noah is the love and passion energy in you. In his shadow, Noah turns into the passive nice guy, too focused on avoiding conflict and keeping the peace. He craves emotional connection so desperately that he loses himself in the needs of others, becoming overly sensitive and indecisive. He might have creative potential but struggles to take bold action or stand up for himself, and that wastes his potential. The action steps that you can take to integrate Noah. Number 1, every morning write down your emotions. Write down how you felt the previous day and what triggered that feeling. This will help you to deepen your emotional awareness. Point number 2, sign up to something creative. Study something that satisfies your creative urge. Write, paint, go dancing, yoga, Pilates, connect to your inner lover. Archetype number 2, Martin. Martin is the empath and the lover energy in you. In his shadow, Martin is a self-sacrificing nice guy, constantly putting others' needs ahead of his own, craving approval or love. When you're in your shadow, Martin, you avoid conflict at all costs, you turn needy, and you lose your sense of self-worth. Your empathy turns into people-pleasing, which won't be reciprocated because people see through it, and then you become frustrated because no one fucking respects you. It's like Louis Litt in Suits. So how can you integrate your Martin? Set one boundary this week where you've been giving too much. That can be with your parents, with your woman, at work, or even with friends. Archetype number 3, Patrick. Patrick is the warrior energy in you, the guy that wants to conquer, right? In his shadow, Patrick becomes the tyrannical warrior obsessed with power, control, and dominance, right? That's when you use force rather than knowledge and wisdom, and you're driven purely by ego. A lot of boys are Patricks. You crave validation through strength, and you see vulnerability as weakness. And I see a lot of guys in red pill who are in their Patrick shadow form. They're turned into angry gym bros, hating women, hating anyone, and being angry for the sake of being angry, because anger is such an addictive emotion. And these guys are so afraid to be vulnerable. So how do you integrate your Patrick? Become more assertive, take more charge in your life, do the things that you're supposed to do when you're supposed to be doing them. When you start having discipline, that's when you truly conquer your warrior energy inside of you, which is your Patrick. Number 4, Don Juan. Don Juan is a witty, charming, loving guy energy, and you speak womanese. In his shadow, however, Don Juan becomes the manipulative player. You use your charm for selfish gains, right? You become emotionally detached. You use people to validate your ego rather than forming genuine connection. You seek power over others through seduction and manipulation, right? You're like Picasso words, but you abuse your power. How can you integrate your Don Juan? Add playfulness to your conversations. Try teasing or playful banter with someone this week. Allow yourself to be lighthearted and fun, right? And another tip, super practical, watch Matt Rife crowd work for like 15 to 30 minutes at least 3 times a week and take your notes of your favorite puns.